In the first episode, we saw how the Thames began, and we're all familiar with these iconic landmarks. But what about when this stream becomes a river? In this episode, I want to discover the villages and towns that pepper the banks. What are their stories, and what does this river really mean to us? Join me while we discover the Thames like you've never seen before. My journey begins in the picturesque villages of Goring and Streatley. I think I'm saying that right. Upon researching these two places, I have discovered two things are true. One, you cannot research one place without learning about the other one. I don't know how the locals would feel about that.
And the second thing I discovered is that there is far too much content online. Did you know there are over 500 hours of content uploaded to YouTube alone every minute? And that could be scaled back, I'm going to be honest with you. I watched one video about a guy who was making a video about him making a video of this place. And I just thought, who's that for? Has anybody ever searched for this? Now that I've shared my personal frustrations, we can get back to this. So this area seems to have been inhabited by human beings for around 12,000 years. Now that's a staggering amount of time. I mean, there would have most probably have been woolly mammoths walking around here back then. And the good news for you and me is that the population of this place has probably only gone up a small fraction since then. So that's good news. And that's despite the fact that this place has been a popular holiday destination for Londoners since the Victorian era.
It's not especially hard to see why Londoners chose this place. This is some good old-fashioned British biscuit tin porn. I'm actually breathtaken of just how cute this place is.
While the human history goes back thousands of years, the river's history goes back millions. It's time for a history lesson. I should be wearing tweed.
Once upon a time, long, long ago, the mighty River Thames was just another arm of the even mightier River Rhine. At the end of the last ice age, an area known only as Doggerland flooded and become what we now know as the North Sea. And even though that sounds like a car park in Epping Forest, that's actually what it was called. I know, I checked. England become an island, the river become independent, and this paved the way for Brexit. While all that ice was melting, the water would have created massive torrents, making getting one of these a pastime for the hardcore adrenaline junkies only. Today, the river has most definitely lost its mojo. It was at least 10 times more powerful back then. It practically sleepwalks through the British countryside until it reaches this place. Crucially, these beautiful hills that you see here are made of chalk, and that turns out to be really important for my next bit.
The fact this whole area is predominantly made of the stuff is extremely relevant to this story indeed. You see, chalk was once living animals at the bottom of an ocean. And when they die, their skeletons, over a very vast period of time, are slowly compressed and turned into rock. Now, about 145 million years ago, when these animals were alive and well, England, quite obviously, wasn't where it is today. It was about 30 or 40 degrees north of the equator. It would have been extremely tropical here. And on a day like today, I don't mind admitting to you, I wouldn't complain much about that. And about 65 million years ago, those rocks were slowly forced upwards to create these rolling landscapes that I see around me today. And as far as rocks go, chalk isn't particularly hard. And that means it's easily manipulated and crucially shaped by water.
Ironically, water can carve right through chalk given enough time. However, the chalk can also change the direction of the water, and that's exactly what's happened here. The Chiltern Hills have funneled the water into this spectacular site. We call it the Goring Gap, and it gives us the familiar shape the river is today. So yes, these two villages are more than just eye candy, they're an important part of the river's story. What's more, this seems like the perfect place to talk about one extraordinary fact.
Life on Earth has found countless ways to meet the challenges of life. The sheer diversity is stunning. There are many species of animal that thrive in conditions that's wholly toxic to me. Yet there is one thing, and one thing alone, that all life on Earth requires. It needs water to live. And that's unfortunate for us, because fresh water is notoriously difficult to pin down and a very rare resource indeed. In fact, at any one time, less than 1% of all of the water to be found anywhere on the Earth's surface is both accessible and fresh.
Since I learned this, it's raised some truly profound issues in my mind, such as, if that's all the water that there is, then surely I have a responsibility to share that resource with all life on Earth. And it doesn't matter if it's got a face just fit for radio, because from the standpoint of the universe, to me, I have no more right to life, well, than this grasshopper. Now, before I waffle on some more, I've got to cover these two villages. The first place I'm going to cover is the tiny Whitchurch-on-Thames. With a population of less than 800 people, it is quite the idyllic stretch of the walk, consisting of barely more than a few streets. The whole area is centred around the atmospheric and incredibly scenic Church of St Mary, and has done so since the 9th century, although understandably I think there is not much left of it from that time. Whitchurch is connected by this tiny little toll bridge and charges the extortionate amount of 60 pence for vehicles to cross it, but is still free for pedestrians. And it connects to the slightly larger village of Pangbourne that is also centred around the church. Now, this place caught the attention of Kenneth Graham. He was the author of The Wind in the Willows, which is a book about talking animals, because why wouldn't it be about that? And he decided to retire to this very house. And he was clearly a very smart cookie. There is a pub right across the road, and, of course, a good old-fashioned church for when you've been out on a bender and you just need to repent those sins. I have to say, I didn't know the English countryside was this beautiful. And I'm English. Leaving these two pretty little villages behind, I feel kind of remorseful, because there's clearly a lot more for me to explore and absorb. But time is pressing on, and I just had another thought that really does bring me a lot of joy.
Do you know, when we go to our houses and we turn on the tap and clean water just comes out, it's easy to forget just how fortuitous and what a miraculous event that actually is. I mean, if you was to speak to anybody who's ever bought a property near a river, they would probably tell you that there is a significant chance of it flooding. And now we don't need to physically come here with a bucket to take everything that we need for the day. We've got waterboards for that. Many of us can move away from the river, thus alleviating the problem. We live in a society where it's possible for us to take a dump in the very same water source we plan on drinking, and we don't all die of disease. That's nothing short of a miracle to me. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Just throwing it out there, it's really beautiful. It's not just me, is it?
Here's a quick pit stop, just while I happen to be passing on this incredibly scenic walk. This beautiful Tudor-style mansion that you see behind me is called Hardwick House, and is believed to be the inspiration for Toad Hall, also in The Wind in the Willows.
Well, this has turned out to be a nostalgic walk, and I've discovered that this dream house could be yours if you have a cool £1.5 million laying around. But ironically, I didn't come here for that. This is just an added extra. I actually came from Maple Durham Watermill that's just a short walk away. There has been a watermill here since at least 1086, when one was recorded during the Doomsday Survey. The one you see here today was actually built in the 15th century and still actually works, and still able to produce a small amount of flour, but it's used locally. It even produces around 84 kilowatts of renewable energy, or enough to power about 140 homes. Now, if that's not built to last, I don't know what is.
But there would have been a time, not that long ago in all reality, when this mill would have run completely out of flower.
In the autumn of 1314, the clouds above much of Europe began to turn grey. Now, if you're from England and it starts to rain, well, that's probably not going to shock you. But this time, it hardly stopped for 2 whole years. The Thames completely burst its banks, seriously flooding the whole area, destroying crops as they lay rotting in the ground.
Inevitably, since the food supply was now completely decimated, many people had to resort to crime just to get by. Because if you think about it, there is only a very small amount of very meagre rations that you could hope to extract from the land if you would have decided to have come foraging, right? And you would have been in competition with every other family. There was reports of families having to leave their children to starve to death. In fact, there was even reports of cannibalism around here. But there was worse yet to come. You see, all that standing water and all that death inevitably led to more death as disease run rampant throughout the valley.
The period of time between 1314 and 1316 become known as the Great Famine. It's hard to believe that the people who lived in this beautiful and serene place were once so hard on their luck they may have been forced to eat the dead just to survive. Today, it's a delight to explore. That terrible time is just a distant memory, as you can easily buy a sandwich these days. But to me, it's a stark reminder of just how fragile we actually are, and just how merciless nature can be. Sitting on an extremely scenic bend of the river, and the next stop of any size is Henley-on-Thames. It's a quaint, all-English fest for the eyes. The first recorded mention of this town dates back to 1179, when King Henry II bought the land to build some houses on. He obviously felt like he didn't have enough already. It quickly established itself as a market town and gained great relevance along the river. The town hall dominates the marketplace, as it does in most market towns in England. This one was completed in 1900 and is quite spectacular. However, as cute as Henley is, and my goodness is it is not the highlight for me. That award goes to a small place a short walk away. Well, I say a short walk, but let's be honest, nothing is a short walk when you're doing the Thames Path. But I think you will agree there is far worse places to be stretching your hamstrings than this, despite the pain my legs are currently in.
And this is it. This is the highlight for me. This beautiful building that you see behind me is Medmenham, or Medmenham, I don't really know how you pronounce it, Abbey. And while I'm not sure how you say it, I do know its history. And it's really something. You see, this building started its construction in around 1200 under the Cistercian order of monks. It was righteous and holy back then.
However, the Abbey's leasehold was sold to one Sir Francis Dashwood in 1740, and he was not so holy, despite the spiffing name.
Dashwood immediately decided to fill this beautiful abbey with pornographic images and statues. I'm guessing because he didn't have the internet, and what else are you going to do? And he also decided to have these upmarket Diddy-style freak-offs, and it become an upmarket brothel for his aristocrat friends, and it become known as the infamous Hellfire Club.
I can only imagine the reputation that unfolded in this deeply rural community.
The last thing I will add is Sir Francis Dashwood was actually the Chancellor of the Exchequer at the time, because of course he was. And he famously gave his budget speech absolutely trolleyed. And legend has it that another Chancellor hasn't done that since. I believe that to be true.
Today is just a fantastic place to unwind and take it all in. But unfortunately, I don't have time for much of that because it's getting dark and I have to get to my next destination, which is the fantastic town of Marlow. And what a journey it's been, and what a perfect place to wrap it all up, take the time and reflect on what this river means to me.
Well, that's about it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, because God knows it's a ball ache making these documentaries. And if you did, I'm not going to ask you again. You already know what to do. Or don't. It's up to you. Oh, and before I go, the last thing I will say is, if you liked any of the things that you've seen in any of our documentaries, you just simply click the link in the descriptions of any of our videos below, and you'll be directed to our website, where we have free how-to guides for everything that you see. And that is completely free, and is our gift to you. I hope to see you again.
Even though this episode is finished, the story of this mighty river is far from over.